Today we're going to focus on the writing section of TOEFL exam. I chose writing because it is getting a lot of interesting changes in 2026. Together we're going to check what is new with the test and what are the things you can do to prepare for this test. So let's get right into it. Writing, as you see, is the third part of the test and it's going to last about 23 minutes. In the new updates of TOEFL, you'll see that there are a number of items for each part that will tell you how many items you have to deal with in the test. Something you need to remember is that these numbers may change due to some sort of optimizations that they have, and this is an ongoing process, and they're gonna let people know what will be the number of the accurate number of items that will be in the test. But regardless, we know that we have three types of questions. We have build a sentence, which is very interesting. We're going to get to it. Write an email, which is very normal, very typical in any exam. And finally, write for an academic discussion, which is again a shorter, more convenient way of writing an essay. So these three parts, let's take a look at each of them and see how they look like and what are the best ways we can practice and prepare for these types. Let's take a look at the most common type of question, which is the email, where you have to write an email. It is, again, in academic environment. You will probably be asked to write an email to a professor, to somebody in that department, or again, people and contacts that you usually deal with as a student. We have the usual rubrics of this task, but let's take a closer look at it. A new poetry magazine has asked its readers for submissions, and you decided to submit 2 of your poems. However, you had a problem using the online submission form and you are not certain that your submissions were received. Again, the typical scenarios where you usually run into a problem or you want to get some information and then you have to communicate with somebody or a department to get your issues resolved or get something done. Write an email to the editor of the magazine. In your email, do the following. So the familiar bullet points, these are the core of your task. These are the things that you need to address clearly and fully in your email. And then you have this: write as much as you can, an incomplete sentence. So they are giving us some more information about how to kind of who we are addressing. So this helps us start and finish our emails properly. So let's take a look at a nice example according to TOEFL website that they believe this is a nice example, and we're gonna break it down together. This is a high level response. As you see, it's not very long. Remember, this is an email, so we try our best not to overwrite and complicate this. This is not a letter, this is not an essay, this is not a report, this is just an email. As you see, the writer has started appropriately, expressing what they want, then expressing their problem, and then giving some further details, and finally requesting for something to be done about it, and then finishing the email appropriately. So this couldn't be more convenient and more comfortable than this. So start appropriately, state the issue, give more information, and then close it properly by asking for some sort of a call to action, the formal finishing of the letter. You don't need to complicate this. This is just an email to a magazine. You don't need to have super fancy paragraphing or styling or whatever. Just make sure you're using a nice natural language and you are addressing those 3 bullet points that was those 3 bullet points that was in the text. It's done very well. The language is fantastic. There are questions, there are normal sentences, we have appropriate linking words to connect ideas, and this is an ideal way to write an email, and as I call it, very brief and to the point. Okay, let's go. So that was the email. The next task that you need to take care of in TOEFL, if you have taken TOEFL in 2024, 2025, or you have been reading stuff, researching about TOEFL after the June of 2024, you know that they have walked away from those 2 long essays that they used to have back in the day. Now it's just part of a shorter form of task. So you may have to do more than one of these in the test, but they are shorter, they are more to the point, and they're checking your ability to stay brief but effective. So this is very important. If you're somebody who gives a lot of unnecessary details, if you beat about the bush all the time, you're gonna run into a lot of problems. So I keep calling it an essay because it is technically an essay, but let's call it what they do, and we call it a response to a discussion. So let's see what it does. It usually gives you some main point of a discussion. So it says your professor is teaching a class on social studies. Write a post responding to the professor's question. As you see, we have the input, which is kind of the essay question. Usually highlights a matter, a topic of a discussion, and then you see some inputs from other people involved in the discussion, usually the students. And then here's what you need to do: express and support your opinion, as we do in any essay, and make a contribution to the discussion in your own. The way we write it is very interesting. Look, I keep calling it an essay because it is an essay. We're going to have an introduction, we're going to have a conclusion, we're going to have ideas and sort of examples and supporting and everything, but it's going to be done in a very compact, precise way rather than a long 300-word essay. Remember, it says an effective response will contain at least 100 words. We cannot go beyond 150, so stay between 100 and 150. Do not write less than 100 because again, the system, the examiners are gonna consider that they're gonna find an excuse to say that, okay, you forgot to cover something from the discussion, or you mentioned something that's already mentioned by other people. So be very careful. Spend some time reading the input, summarize the discussion of others, and then share your own. Usually, I'm gonna give you a tip. Look, if you put all of this into one writing, it's going to be a very long, complete essay. So there's going to be the introduction of that essay, which is the professor's input, and then you have paragraph side A, side B, and then paragraph 3 of the body would be your paragraph. So to make it easier, make sure that you're adding something to the discussion. You're not repeating, or you're not rephrasing what others are saying. No, try to add a different angle, a different perspective to the discussion, and support your opinion with examples and reasons. Remember, it's an essay. It's asking for your opinion clearly. All right, express and support your opinion. That's why we call it an essay. So express and support your opinion, examples, facts, statistics, whatever comes to your mind that is relevant, and make sure it is up to 150 words. Now let's take a look at a good example. The discussion was about volunteerism, and then people had two different perspectives. One of them agreed that high schools should require volunteerism, and then the other person has a different perspective. A good response looks like this. It reacts to the aforementioned points, and then you have your own opinion. So you need to give your opinion at the beginning of the statement. Answer the question first. Remember the rule. We answer the question first. We try to stay relevant. We are trying to communicate with people. We're not trying to confuse them with beating about the bush. And then you see that it's adding more information to support the answer, using nice linking words to adding extra information, and finally using an example to support the answer. This is an ideal way to structure your answer. So start by a quick reaction to what others said or to the other points, and then express your idea, support it, and finally give an example to seal the deal. Now let's take a look at the interesting part of the TOEFL updates in 2026, where you have to build a sentence. Very interesting task. So they give you a sentence which looks like the keyword transformation that we had in Cambridge exams, but it's a little bit different. They are, again, a lot of updates are coming in, but they are claiming that more than one answer is possible, so you will get a point based on how correctly you put the words together. It checks your grammar, checks your knowledge of syntax and the way that information are put together, grammatical structures are formed, and so you will get a couple of these sentences where you have to build using the words that are given to you. And if you take a closer look, you see that there's usually an extra word. So for example, here it says, what was the highlight of your trip? There is an answer. The blah, 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 blah was fantastic. Now we have to put it together. Okay, we say the tour guides who showed us around the old city were fantastic. So the word was here is extra. So some people may miss, for example, who, like the tour guides showed us around the old city were fantastic. So based on how correct your sentence is, you will get a point. So another very exciting addition to the TOEFL test, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really excited. I'm happy that there are such questions here where we can really test and evaluate students' ability to form sentences, which is very important for somebody who wants to study in another country. All right, folks, if you managed to watch this video up to here, first of all, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. I always encourage people to share their work with me so I can give them feedback. So if you want to get some feedback on your emails, your essays, or response to the academic discussion, don't forget to send it in the comment section. I'm happy to take a look at and discuss the strength and action points, things that you need to consider to improve your writing. And it's going to be a great piece of discussion both for me, for you, and anybody who's watching this video and preparing for TOEFL. The following episodes of this series, we are going to focus more on TOEFL, changes in different sections. Today we talked about writing, and then we're going to talk about listening, reading, and speaking. And then once we covered everything, we're going to start more in-depth lessons on how to prepare for TOEFL. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.